Hello everyone, Nick the DM here, back with more March of the Modrons. In earlier editions of Dungeons & Dragons, we were given stats for all of the Modrons, from the Monodrone and even to Primus in most editions. Though in 5th edition we only have the stats for the first 5, the Monodrone, Duodrone, Tridrone, Quadrone, and Pentadrone, all of the base Modrons, none of the Hierarchs. So I took it upon myself, as you might know if you watched any of my earlier videos, to stat out the earlier edition Modrons. I like to stat earlier edition things, and March of the Modrons was a perfect place to do this. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Decaton and the Nonaton, the 10th and 9th ranked of the Hierarch Modrons. So let's get into it. Decatons. Decatons are the lowest ranking of all the Hierarch Modrons. A Decaton appears as a tentacled sphere atop a pair of stumpy legs. Its 10 tentacles are spaced evenly around its horizontal circumference. Above these are 4 eyes, also evenly spaced, and a single mouth, which is located at the very top of its body. Though the 3rd edition art shows the Decaton's mouth on the front of its body, and its tentacles evenly spaced, but not just in one circle, just kind of sporadically about the body. There are exactly 100 Decatons in existence at one time. They oversee the base Modron's physical welfare and serve as the voice of the greater powers to the working class. One Decaton is assigned to each of the realm's 64 sectors and reports directly to the sector Nonaton. Each sector Decaton has a personal staff consisting of 5 pentadrones, 16 quadrones, 81 tridrones, 256 duodrones, and 1,728 monodrones, all reporting to their respective superiors in this chain of command. Each of the remaining 36 Decatons serve on the staff of one of the Modron armies, as we touched on in an earlier video. A Decaton can fly by generating a gas that renders it lighter than air. How this works, we're not going to talk about it. Generally, it rises into the air only while commanding a Modron army on the field to get an overview of the situation and strategically attack from there, like a chess master on a chessboard. Now I decided to make the 5th edition stats for all the Hierarch Modrons, so let's talk about the Decaton stats. Decaton, large construct, lawful neutral, has an armor class of 16, 105 hit points, or 14d10 plus 28, a normal on-foot speed of 30 feet, and a fly speed of 10 feet, which is also hover, which means if it's knocked prone, it will not fall, it will just stay aloft. For its ability scores, it has a 12 strength, 14 dexterity, 14 constitution, 12 intelligence, 12 wisdom, and 14 charisma. Now, these seem a little bit strange considering they're kind of weaker than the Pentadrone in terms of physical stats, but this is because they have other traits. Saving throws, they have proficiency in dexterity, constitution, and wisdom saves. They have perception skill, true sight out to a range of 120 feet, and a passive perception of 14. For languages, they know Celestial, Common, Infernal, Modron, and have telepathy up to 44 miles. This is not a typo, and this is not something I included. This is something directly from pretty much all Modron information, where the Hierarch Modrons have telepathy in a very vast range. This makes it easier to talk down the chain of command, especially because a Secundus cannot order around a Decaton. It'd have to go all the way down to a Nonaton ordering the Decaton around. Now, in addition, it knows Common, but Common is replaced with any of the... When reading what languages they know from earlier editions, it said the trade tongue of the plains, quote. And that means that it is whatever the most common language is among the different planes, what people would trade using, and I decided this was Common, though in any setting this will change. A Decaton has a challenge rating of 8. Another thing I want to touch on with this is all of the base Modrons were higher CRs in earlier editions, and were either dropped by half or like a quarter in some instances. The Hierarch Modrons, I decided to keep the exact same challenge rating, just because I kind of liked the progression upwards to the higher Modrons. So For its abilities, it has the axiomatic mind. The Decaton can't be compelled to act in any manner contrary to its nature or instructions. And disintegration. If the Decaton dies, its body disintegrates into dust, leaving behind its weapons and anything else it was carrying. So just like the base Modrons, axiomatic mind and disintegration. Unlike the base Modrons, Decatons have innate spellcasting. Its spellcasting is charisma based. It is DC 13 plus 5 to hit with spell attacks. It can cast the following spells requiring no material components. At will, it can cast Clairvoyance, Command, and Lesser Restoration. 3 times per day each, it can cast Dimension Door, and once per day each, it can cast Wall of Force. Now, if you're following along, you might be wondering why it's a challenge rating 8. It seems kind of bland. Well, the Hierarch Modrons have a number of attacks for the multi-attack, which I'm going to get into right now, equal to what their rank is. So while a Secundus will make 2 attacks, and we'll touch on that later, they do a lot of damage. Now a Decaton makes 10 arm attacks. Each one is a plus 4 to hit, reach of 5 feet, and does 1d6 plus 1 bludgeoning damage, or 4. So while it seems kind of underwhelming in terms of general stats, its health, armor class, and damage output are very accurate in terms of the chart in the Dungeon Master's Guide. I made sure to use that because I wanted to keep it exactly on the money for its challenge rating. Also, optionally, I wanted to mention that in earlier editions of Dungeons & Dragons, it is said that different Modrons can be clerics. Now, this is a kind of weird thing, considering they don't actually know that... The only Modrons that know Primus exists are the Secundus. All other Modrons they believe that the highest, or the one rank higher than them, is the highest form of life and logic. So this is kind of how their cleric abilities would work. Is that Primus would funnel energy down to the Secundi, and from there it'd go to the Tertians, the Quartons, and all the way down. So the clerical abilities from the Decatons would technically be based on their belief in the Nonatons. So it's a little strange, but this is all optional. I put a little blurb in my script to mention talking about it. Decatons can have the spells of a 10th level cleric. They don't have any other abilities. It is just mentioned in earlier editions that they can have the spell casting of a 10th level cleric. Now let's move on to the Nonaton. Nonatons are the second lowest ranking of the Hierarch Modrons. 81 Nonatons exist at one time, and like usual, that number is kept consistent through promotion in the Modron hierarchy. A Nonaton appears as a cylinder set vertically on 3 stumpy legs. 9 tentacles are spaced evenly around the middle of its body, and it has 2 eyes and 2 mouths, one of each on either side of its upper portion. Nonatons act as the commissars and chief inspectors for the Modron realm. 1 Nonaton is stationed in each of the 64 sectors of Regulus to oversee the action of the Decaton assigned there. These Nonatons report to their respective Octon governors. 8 Nonatons monitor the loyalties of the 36 Decatons in the armies, and the remaining 9 carry the orders of the Octons to underlings throughout the realm. When required, any Nonaton may also serve as additional personal staff for an Octon. Nonatons usually head the teams that investigate rogue Modron reports and handle small party invasions from other planes. In the latter case, they will attempt to determine the invader's intentions, then act accordingly. So these are the Modrons who will interact with the party if they arrive to Regulus without an invitation, as the party will not be able to speak normally to the very low Modrons. They won't have the capabilities, but the Nonatons will generally be the ones to interact with them. Now let's take a look at the 5th edition stats I made for the Nonaton. Nonaton, large construct, lawful neutral. Armor class of 17, natural armor. Hit points 153 hit points, or 18d10 plus 54, and a on-foot movement speed of 40 feet. They have a strength of 14, dexterity of 16, constitution of 16, intelligence of 14, wisdom of 14, and charisma of 15. For saving throws, they have proficiency in dexterity, constitution, and wisdom. They have proficiency in the perception skill. For senses, they have 120 feet of true sight and a passive perception of 16. For languages, they speak Celestial, Common, or the trade tongue of the plains, as I touched on with the Decaton, Infernal, Modron, and a telepathy of 63 miles. Again, miles is accurate, it is not a typo. Challenge rating of 10. For abilities, they have the Axiomatic Mind and Disintegration, just like the Decaton did. And they have 2 types of innate spellcasting this time, and this is specific to the Nonaton, or I believe some other Hierarch Modrons, is that certain ones have access to psionic capabilities, the Nonaton being one of them. The Nonaton's innate spellcasting is its intelligence, spell save DC 14, a +6 to hit with spell attacks. It can innately cast the following spells requiring no material components, and that is, at will, the Nonaton can cast invisibility. That's the only thing it has for its psionics. For its innate spellcasting, just casually, the Charisma one, it has a spell save DC of 14 and a +6 to hit with spell attacks, and it can innately cast these following spells. At will, it can cast Clairvoyance, Command, Lesser Restoration, Detect Evil and Good, Detect Thoughts, or Zone of Truth. Can be very useful when talking to the party. 3 times per day each, it can cast Dimension Door, Slow, Mirror Image, or Web. And once per day each, Wall of Force and Power Word Stun. It's quite a high-level ability, but remember they can do it once a day, and it's not like Power Word Kill. Power Word Kill at this CR would just be kind of ridiculous. For its actions, it has a multi-attack where it can make 9 tentacle attacks. For its tentacle, it has a +7 to hit, reach of 10 feet, hits 1 target, and does 6 or 1d6 +3 bludgeoning damage, using its dexterity for this modifier. Again, just like I mentioned with the Decaton, the Nonaton has the capabilities in earlier editions to have clerical spells. It is mentioned that it can have the clerical spells of 12th level, though of course, again, this would be channeled from their belief in the Octons above them, which would then be channeled from the Septons, Hextons, so on and so forth. And that's all I have for the Nonatons. Alright, that is all I have for the first 2 Hierarch Modrons, the Decaton and the Nonaton. I will be covering all of these Hierarch Modrons before the end of March, so I'm going to keep this consistent, hopefully 2 per video, with Secundi getting their own video and then a video on Primus. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!